Yeah, so a bit late on the recording, but there we go. Yeah, so from the questions that we did receive, we just kind of compiled them just in case they're of general interest to the callers. So one of the we've seen in the UK is that they've actually started sending some letters out to customs warehouse keepers. And actually, the question on the screen is they've been telling people that all goods entered and removed from a customs warehouse require a declaration. What does it mean and what has changed? Well, not a lot really, because all goods do require a declaration. When Eric gets onto his discussions, that's not always been the case in all member states for re-exports. So I think they're just really clarifying the basics of what is required. But what I can go on to say is, with regards to a supplementary declaration, it's no longer required to declare goods into warehouse. So again, some people are getting confused in, you're telling me I need a declaration, but you're telling me I don't need a supplementary declaration. So really all they're saying is if a trader is authorised for simplified procedures and they make a simplified frontier declaration, if that's going into a customs warehouse, then there's no legal obligation to submit a supplementary declaration. So that's really what they're saying. It wasn't the best drafted letter. In fact, they did make a couple of typing mistakes in there as well. So if there are any questions on that, if you're unsure, then come back to us. The other question was about guarantees. The question was whether people needed to guarantee goods that are within a temporary storage facility. So in the UK, that would be what we call an ERTS, or an enhanced temporary storage facility. The answer is yes, you would need a guarantee, but only once that authorisation has been reissued or reassessed under the UCC. So as of the 1st of May, you don't need a guarantee, but sometimes between the 1st of May and May 2019, depending on when your authorisation gets updated to UCC conditions, that will be when you need a guarantee. The next question is how much it normally is, should the guarantee be for? Again, UK Customs are being fairly flexible on this in terms of establishing a reference amount. For a lot of operators of temporary storage facilities, don't know the value of the goods. It's not their goods. They don't necessarily do the declaration. So UK Customs are looking at various ways in which maybe that could be assessed or calculated, maybe a general premises insurance limit as an idea of the value of goods that may be stored at any given time in the facility. So the question that's come up is whether there's any benefit in obtaining AEO or applying for a comprehensive guarantee in advance of a reauthorisation or reapproval. I would say from in terms of AEO, I think it should be clear that AEOC, if operating special procedures, is almost a must now to get the full benefit out of them. If you don't apply now or start applying now, you probably find yourself at the end of a very long queue. In terms of a comprehensive guarantee, in the UK at least, when you apply for a comprehensive guarantee, you can also apply, if you've got AOC, for that reduction in duty deferment guarantee. So, although you may not need a comprehensive guarantee in itself at the moment because you're not operating under UCC arrangements, still in the transition stage, you might get some benefits by reducing your deferment account guarantee. So it might be something worth considering. Belgian customers, so I'll hand over to Eric. He can answer the Belgian question.
Thanks again. In Belgium, they're going to introduce some new codes in box 49. That's the warehouse type code, and box 44. We got questions from customers asking whether they need to change the templates in their application for the new codes or whether this will happen automatically. So the answer is that, these templates definitely need to be updated. And not only the templates, because we've got quite a lot of customers with interfaces. So also, if these codes are sent through an interface, this needs to be changed. If you're not going to change it, it will have to be changed in the application manually because you will get an error from customs. So that's quite important for customers to take into account. Of course, this is only the case for the declarations that have this particular code, so it's definitely not for all the declarations. It's mainly in the declarations that are related to the warehouse procedures. We go to the next. Yeah. So, question from Dutch customer: will customs send an error on the declaration if the BTI code is not sent for a specific article, and of course only in case a BTI is applicable for that specific article of a customer? The answer is that customs will at this point not validate yet, so you won't get an error. Of course, again, there can be controls or verification afterwards on a periodic basis. It's still unclear how strict customs will be on this topic. Of course, in the longer term, when the European BTI project is launched, there will be an automatic check. So then we expect that you can get back an error message. But that's, yeah, you have to look at the timelines for the European BTI project. I believe it's not before 2007, 2018. And BTI is also divided into sub-projects. So definitely not something that will happen in the coming months. So another question from a Dutch customer. Actually, we've got the impression that the Netherlands has most changes on May 1st, and that's definitely related to the re-export declaration. So customers ask what needs to be changed in the application. Actually, we already have the possibility in our applications to send a re-export declaration. The only thing that needs to be changed in the configuration is that instead of a transit declaration, an export declaration needs to be generated from the bonded warehouse module. So this is something that our professional services need to update, and we're currently planning to do this for all customers. Another related question is whether this re-export obligation also applies for Sagita. The answer is yes, this also applies for Sagita. In the past, it was communicated that this would only come into force for AGS export, so that's the new system in the Netherlands. But later the customs authorities changed their position and said that it was also applicable, or it is also applicable for the current Sagita system. Next. So also in the Netherlands, they said that BTI codes or the BTI needs to be sent for all declarations, so also Sagita, export, and CTS. But currently it's not in the code list yet. So customers ask whether these codes will still be added. We haven't seen any communication yet, but we expect that by May 1st these codes can also be used in these declarations. Currently it can already be used in, for example, the HS import, and also for the GPA the exact fields have already been defined. You can see these codes in the code list for export and STS. Next one. Okay, that was everything. As I said in the beginning, there is a live Q&A at the end of the session, so if you've got more questions, feel free to ask them in this session. And of course, we still have the email address ucc@descartes.com for additional questions. So let's talk a bit about the Nordics. Actually, there are not that many changes on May 1st. First of all, there are the common changes that we see in all the countries, including also the use of the BTIs in the declarations when applicable, of course. There is that leads to, or that has a knock-on effect to the specific related documents and customs procedure codes. For example, the codes for the IPR drawback cannot be used anymore, and there are also related document codes as you have in most countries. In Denmark, there are also new error codes for import-export. This still has to be communicated by the customs authorities. In Sweden, there are quite a lot of changes, but only by November, so there's going to be a new bonded warehouse solution. The main the specifications for the simplified procedure are still under development. One of the key changes is that for all inbound and outbound transactions, you will have to send transactional messages or transactional notifications to the authorities. As I said, for simplified procedure, it's still under development, so we're still not 100% sure what the exact outcome will be. They will also introduce new XML messages that's related to that to these bonded warehouse transactions, and also there are no the sensitive goods are not allowed anymore in the NCTS declaration. That's actually something that we also saw in other countries like Ireland, and normally this should be something that is valid for all European countries. The only thing is that that not all customs authorities are communicating this specifically. So yeah, we can go to other countries. Yeah, okay. Martin, you can.
So again, thanks, Eric. Yes, again, this was another one that came out of those letters that came out. Really, if any warehouse keepers are actually storing goods that are subject to anti-dumping duty, UK customs are advising that equivalents cannot be used. So again, it's just something to be aware of. If you do hold goods that are subject to anti-dumping duty, you really need to maybe dig into that a bit and see how that affects your processes, and whether you need to make sure you do removals against specific stocks. Again, a clarification, it wasn't made particularly clear, but where goods are temporarily removed from a customs warehouse, maybe for preparing or processing, in the UK there used to be a general authorization. You didn't have to tell customs each and every time, and a bit like Eric just said, that's now changed. There needs to be prior permission must be sought on every occasion that goods are being temporarily removed from the school's premises, as of course you're authorized for a type E or something. The other one that came up yesterday, maybe of news to any UK traders that are authorised for the low-value bulk imports simplifications. So this predominantly deals with goods being a value of under £15 and between £15 and £135, where the UK allows certain bulking arrangements for multiple small consignments. The concern was for under £15, the amount of information that was being requested under the UCC, as there's no longer an incomplete declaration allowance. What UK Customs said is under the transitional arrangements, they'll keep current procedures and the current process is as is, business as usual, until the new customs system in the UK is brought in, which is called CSD. The timeline for that is now, they're saying, early 2018. It's likely if you have got an LVBI authorization, you'll be getting letters advising you that the authorization will be rolled over until May 2019 or the implementation of the CSD solution. So, Eric, Belgium? Yeah, thank you. Martin, one remark, isn't it CDS? Sorry. Yeah, sorry, correct. I'm getting a bit.
Well, no problem. Just before customers start thinking it's a kind of container security device or whatever.
Yeah. Too many acronyms. Acronyms.
Yeah, that's typically in customs, of course. Yeah, of course. Okay, then Belgium. So I already talked about the new warehouse codes and the box 44 codes. So the updated PLDA version is installed in the customs test system. The initial tests reveal that it works quite well. And there's another change that they communicated this week, only from July 2016, the commodity code will not be allowed anymore in the re-export from the bonded warehouse. I'm not sure whether this is also the case for all the other countries, but that's something that the IT group of Belgian Customs mentioned explicitly. I was expecting that there is another topic on other countries. Maybe Martin, you need to push a button. It's on a separate slide. Okay, sorry, we changed slides a bit. That's no problem. So for other countries, actually we didn't see anything big or shocking that we haven't seen in the countries we discussed in more detail. For Austria, we also saw some code changes in box 44, and the exact impact really depends on procedures that the company is using. In Italy, one customer had to change the code in box 1, part 2, so they were using IMZ, and now it needs to be IMA. So A is a normal declaration, Z is more for a periodic declaration or a declaration after the goods have already been imported. Actually, there you see quite differences, like in there are countries where almost every shipper is using an IMZ, and there are others where it's quite exceptional. And in Ireland, as I mentioned, the only thing we saw there also was the end of the sensitive goods in NCTS. Of course, apart from the common changes that we have discussed a few times before. As I said, nothing really shocking. Actually, in many countries, the introduction of UCC has quite limited impact at this point. Of course, in the coming months and definitely the coming years, the impact will be much bigger. We're still waiting for more timelines, of course. I think, we are at the end of everything we wanted to say. So I would like to open the floor for questions. Ask a question, you need to press star 1 to unmute. Please feel free to. Okay. More.
Yes, maybe I will just ask one question here in relation to the diversions from IPR procedure in the UK. Have you heard of any drive really to get that by electronic means and have this as the mandatory?
Yeah, I mean that would be. I mean, obviously even prior to the UCC forcing all declarations to be electronic, the UK were already driving people to do as many what we would call in the UK DTI declarations rather than send them in on paper to customs to process. So yeah, I think if I remember correctly from a meeting I was at a couple of weeks ago with customs, their view was, well, that should be what people should be doing already. They should be sending them in electronically as non-inventory linked declarations. Obviously, the challenge in the past has been the compensatory interest position, because the UK chief system couldn't handle compensatory interest. Now that goes, or at least I think it was probably yourself that was asking about the compensatory interest up until what happens with goods entering IPR before UCC and not charging until after. But once all those goods clear through and there's no compensatory interest, obviously there's no limitation on people being able to submit diversion declarations via electronically as if they were doing any normal import declaration. Customs did also recently confirm that if a trader is authorised for CFSP, then they should be able to use the simplified procedures to do those diversion entries as well. I know there was some confusion over that because the customs tariff notes seem to suggest that they could only be normal declarations But as I said, if a trader is authorised and authorised for those procedure codes, then they should be able to do the diversions, the simplified procedures as well. Answer the question?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah, thank you. So, as we said, we have, if you do think of something afterwards, or you get a letter from customs, or you attend another seminar meeting, you have got questions, then there is an email there, cc@descartes.com. Aaron, anything?
Maybe in different countries we've sent out some additional communications this week. For example, Belgium and Netherlands. Martin, I believe you've also sent out a newsletter in the UK, if I'm correct, or does that still need to go out?
Yeah, that should be circulated. So again, if anybody is not getting the newsletters or feels that may have got blocked, then drop us an email or let us know. But yeah, there was one that went out for UK customs.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So then you can always replay this webinar because it's recorded, except for the introduction. But I think you have not missed a lot, to be honest. I believe that normally marketing is going to send out a link. They are also published on YouTube, so you can always look them up. If you don't find them, just drop an email to ucc@descartes.com, and then we can provide you the link. Actually, in 2 weeks we're exactly the weekend, the week before the 1st of May. So we'll see how everything evolves, and based on that, we can update you on the latest news in 2 weeks. And one thing we can say is that we really believe it's going to happen. So we're not expecting that something will be rescheduled or postponed last minute. That was about everything we wanted to say today. So I would like to thank you for your attendance, and we will see you the next time. Bye bye. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye bye.